Hi, it's Melissa from Seafarer's Cookbook. Today I'm going to show you the basic clear soup method. And this is how you learn to make things without a recipe. There is a method to this. So there's step by step, and there's different things you do at each step and reasons why you do them in the order that you do them. So you can make just about any soup this way. I am choosing to make chicken noodle soup. Easy, everybody loves it. And this is a way that you can make this anytime, anywhere. I usually, when I'm at work, I make soup just about every day. So I always use the same pot. You know, if I need a gallon, I use, a gallon and a half stock pot or whatever, however much I use something a little bit bigger. So I'm going to use I'm going to make just about 2 quarts. So I have a 3-quart saucepan on my burner here, and I'm going to heat this up over medium heat, medium high I'd say, and I'm going to add a little bit of oil, just a little bit. With a clear soup, you don't really want any excess oil because it's just going to end up floating at the top anyway. Now, I also have here my mirepoix. Mirepoix is nothing more than a mixture of celery, onions, and carrots. 50% onions, 25% celery, and 25% carrots. So in the whole, it could be 2 cups of onion, 1 cup of celery, 1 cup of carrots. So that's what we're going to put in here. Now, I have everything approximate. I just know that this is maybe how much it's going to take. Might be a little bit too much, but I'm going to start by adding my celery. And, whoever complained about too many vegetables in a soup, I don't know. Okay, and do you hear that? It's a little bit too loud for what I want. I want to put the vegetables in here, but I don't want to brown them. What I'm going to do here is called sweating. I'm going to sweat my vegetables, which means to cook without browning. And I like to line my stuff up so that I don't get confused. So I put the oil in first, I put my mirepoix. So I'm just going to cook this until the onions start to turn clear. I'm going to turn it down even a little more. It's still going a little too fast for me. Now, let's talk about just the cut of these vegetables. When you cut the vegetables for soup, unless it's like some kind of hearty, like chicken tortilla, I leave the chicken pieces very large. But for most soups, oh, my burner went out. In general, for most soups, you want to picture those pieces of vegetables on a spoon. So you don't want them falling off, you don't want them too big, and you want them all the same size. That way, when it's cooking, some aren't really overcooked, and the bigger pieces of carrots, say for instance, are crunchy still. And if you have little pieces, they're way overcooked. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Now, if I'm making, say, beef vegetable soup, at this point, when I add my mirepoix, I might want to add some cabbage also, because cabbage takes a really long time to cook in order for it to be good, because I like it like when it's really sweet and well done. So I put it in now. So there's certain things you always want to put, your raw vegetables that take a long time in at this point. And realistically, the only ones I can think of would be cabbage. So my onions are starting to turn clear. And I'm going to put my broth, stock, bouillon, whatever you want to call it. I like to use the already done up stuff, the liquid, but you can use water and bouillon cubes, whatever you like the taste of. what is good for your budget, what is good for your convenience. You know, it's not, you know, culinary snobbery is just makes me mad. So whatever you're comfortable with, use it. Now, you can, I don't know if you could see this or not, but my pan is starting to get a little full, so I think I'm gonna end up with about, not using all of this. I just want it, I have about that much room in there. I don't want too much because if I'm not watching it and it boils a little bit, I don't want it going over the sides. It just, and I can stir it without it spilling. So what my goal is now is to cook these vegetables until they're nice and soft. So I'm gonna just let this simmer for as long as it takes. And what I have to caution you, if you're using bouillon, put a small amount in, not like if you taste it, oh, well, that's the perfect taste. You're gonna lose some of the liquid. So don't put as much in as you think you're gonna need. You can always put more in. I want you to put it in now though, because I want the vegetables to absorb some of that flavor from the bouillon. So I'm gonna turn this up and bring it almost to a boil, a lazy bubble, and then I'm gonna turn it down and let it simmer until the vegetables are nice and soft. So I've been simmering my soup for a little while now, and you know, maybe 10, 20 minutes, something like that, and my vegetables are soft. So I'm gonna just, it doesn't seem like it's going a little bit slow. So I'm gonna put my noodles in. Now, when I determine how much noodles I wanna put in there, always know that your noodles are gonna swell. Or if you're putting rice in there, it's gonna swell and it's gonna be a lot more than you think it is. So I always add the noodles. I'll add maybe 2 little handfuls and give it a stir. All right, so my noodles are cooked and I still have a decent amount of juice in there. They didn't soak up too much where it looks like there's not enough broth in there. So I'm gonna add my chicken. Now the chicken can be leftover rotisserie chicken. You can just boil off a chicken breast, wherever you have it. A lot of times if I have some leftover chicken from something, I'll cut it up and put it in the freezer and know that I have a little bit of chicken to make soup with. At work I do it all the time, you know, whatever, if I have a little bit of beef, if I have a little bit of shrimp. That way I always have something in the freezer if I want to make some soup. So I just sliced it and then pulled the bigger chunks apart. I'm gonna add that. I love, love, love fresh parsley in chicken noodle soup. And I, you know, in a pinch, I use the dried stuff too, but I don't know, there's something about fresh parsley. Totally underrated. So it looks like I have a good mix of broth and soup and broth and vegetables and noodles. Now, something about the noodles, a lot of people like, you know, they cook the noodles out, you know, differently in just water and then put them in the soup. I like to cook them in the soup because then it absorbs the flavor of the broth instead of water and then putting it in here. So I'm just gonna let this heat up a little bit. And then I'm gonna put it in a bowl so that you can hopefully see what the finished product looks like. Now, when you are finished with this and turn it off, you want to make sure it's cooled down before you put it in the refrigerator, before you cover it. So cool it down. You can put it in the pan right into the sink that's filled with ice water and cool it down that way. That's the fastest and safest way to cool it down. Then put it in a container, put it in the fridge, covered loosely. You don't want to ever cover something that's even just a little bit warm because it can be soured by leaving the heat in there. So this is almost to a boil. I'm going to bring it up and then show you what our finished soup looks like. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, I got to taste it. Now I'm going to just take a little bit of the broth. And that tastes good, especially if you're using bouillon or broth, stock, whatever it is. Sometimes they're very salty. At the end, you might not need any salt. Now, I use broth. I feel like it does need a little bit of salt. And I'm going to add some pepper. And usually, that's about all I add to this. And besides the parsley, that gives it plenty of flavor. I have a lot of noodles, a lot of vegetables in there, and it's a good balance of flavor. Take another spoon and see how that tastes. Yes, that's much better. The salt just brings out the flavor. The pepper makes it just taste right. And once I turn off the camera, I'm going to add maybe half a cup of corn to this because I love corn in my chicken noodle soup. I'm from Pennsylvania. We have to have it. So, you know, you can do that also. See how, if you like corn in your soup, it's the best. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the finished product. Okay, I hope you can see that. There's a good amount of juice, but there's also a lot of noodles. We have the parsley and our perfectly cooked vegetables in there also.